Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am talking about starting points for scrapbooking. I have been asked by someone in one of my previous videos to talk a little bit more about my process when I use sketches. I have had in the past questions about sketches. And overall it comes down to how do we incorporate sketches into our scrapbooking. And for me, one of the ways that I think about this is because I think I'm going to do a series of different starting points, which is why I called it that, because I think at any given day, any given week or month or year, we as scrapbookers who are, vested in this craft will have different starting points anytime we begin a layout, whether it's a card, whether it's a project, a pocket page, a project that we're working on. We will have different starting points. For some folks start with sketches. Some folks may start with a piece of paper. Some folks can start with a collection, others with a kit. Others start with photos, others with embellishments and other different techniques or types of projects that they're working on, such as like mini albums or just a mixed media project, whatever it may be. For the sake of today's video, if you're interested, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my process and how I incorporate sketches into my scrapbooking using this as a starting point, the sketches. So there's lots of resources for sketches. This happens to be page maps. There are lots of different companies that are web-based that have free sketches available. You may belong to some kit clubs who also have sketches available. You may have books in your arsenal of different resources. You may have other paid content that you have paid for. I know I do, where I've gotten sketches from in the past. But probably my go-to is always my page maps. I'm not timely about looking at them. Sometimes I'll just go off and print a couple of them at a time because I don't rely on the printed copies as much as I do the electronic sketches and the way I have organized. I will have a whole section. Trying something new here. I will have a whole section if you're really interested in knowing a little bit of, if you're unfamiliar with Pinterest or want to take a look at how I organize some of my Pinterest boards so that my sketches are available to me, whether I'm working here inside my space or outside my space, they're readily available and they're organized in a way that works for me. Again, this is not, don't convert just because this is what I do. This is just what works for me, how it works in my crazy brain. Okay. So I will have that. That'll be probably, I don't know, at some juncture after this intro. And so, oh, hello. That's just my computer. So today, where I usually start here is I start looking at any sketches that look to me like they might work with, I keep an arsenal of printed photos. So if I'm looking, I tend to look at these for how many pictures they have. So just as an example, I have 2 photos, which they can definitely be trimmed down. So I automatically kind of gravitated to this sketch. And I was like, great, that these photos will work with this sketch. And then usually what I will then do is I will go in search, whether it's pattern papers or collections. I will try to get the mood and feel of this, right? So there's, you again, like I said, you can use pattern papers, you can use collections. Collections obviously are going to be a little bit easier. So here's what I'm pulling in. I'm not going to show you all of the papers, but I'm going to show you the collection so that you can get an idea of what I was thinking here. So I'm already thinking, like, absolutely 100% that I can use one of these as a larger strip that has more of the color. So I have options here. If I want to do a big scale, I can use the flowers, I can use these hearts or these butterflies, or even these plus signs. Or if I want a smaller scale, I have options. I can use this flower, I can use these rainbows, or even this smaller motif in the small hearts here on the blue. And then I have a striped piece of paper. I have that here. I can use, it doesn't have to be, striped. It can be this plaid paper here that brings in, again, all of the colors. And you just kind of have to try it out. That's how you pick your papers and what have you. I can tell you that when the sketches are printed, it doesn't make it any easier or harder for me. And maybe this is just because I've been doing this a long time. Some folks really prefer to have things printed. I don't necessarily. But when I'm trying to pick a collection, I usually make a selection just based on the colors. And I kind of bring them out here on my table, on my desk, and I will kind of put my photos up to, the collection, if they have a collection strip like this, or I'll pull out some of the papers and kind of start working with them right away. It really depends on your preferences. It just really helps, obviously, if all of your papers kind of coordinate with one another. It takes the guesswork out of it. But it's not to say that you couldn't use this as an inspiration, go to your stash and try to shop around for some of these, some of similar type papers that you may have. For me, I know I tend to gravitate towards the multicolor types of papers to start off, and then I can build out from there. All right, so then once I have my papers selected, and then it makes it a whole lot easier to then obviously have the papers and then to know which one am I going to use for my background, which one am I going to use for this smaller strip and this larger strip, and then what am I going to use for matting of my photos. If you happen to have a collection that you're working with, a collection, you may have the embellishments already as part of it, so it takes the guesswork out of it. This one, like the sketch, also has a tag here and a tab. So there's tags already here. And any of these elements, these cut aparts, I can make into a tab. I have a punch that I can easily make any one of those into a tab. And here's a notebook border. I have one of those as well. This looks like more of a frame. And if I have a frame, or I can cut, there's a wood grain here, I can cut a frame with one of my dies that looks just like this and just put my photo in back of it. So just kind of teasing out, right, the different elements in your sketches. And then just know that as our friend Janet from Love RTS, you just flip the sketch and have it work for you, because maybe you don't have horizontally printed photos. Maybe your photos are vertical and you want to use the sketch maybe in this way, just by flip-flopping the orientation. I've done that many times. Look at this one. This is a really great one where you can even though the journaling is going this way up and down, you can absolutely see that the journaling can, or you can flip this to the top and the journaling could be up here. You could maybe move the title up there instead of down here. You can make some adjustments, but now you have horizontal versus vertical photos like are in the sketch. Okay. So part of my process in the in terms of my love of Pinterest, that's what will come next. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to give you some tips. If you're unfamiliar with Pinterest and you want some tips and tricks in how I use sketches or content that's in Pinterest that you may not have considered, stay tuned, and that will be next. But if you're stopping watching here, I welcome you to come back and we will choose another starting point for next time. So I am here on my Pinterest homepage, and I'm going to do a walkthrough of how I search for sketches, how I have my sketches organized, and just some general tips and tricks if you're not familiar with Pinterest. So I love Pinterest. I use it for many, many different things. Everything from scrapbooking to crafts to recipes, for cleaning hacks. I mean, you name it. I have probably a board for just a whole bunch of different things. So we'll get there. So basically, once you start doing the searches here, you can do different searches for many different things, but you will see that you're as you start to search and pin different things to your Pinterest boards, you will your home page will be essentially filled with other things that might interest you. So that's why you see a whole bunch of scrapbooking layouts here. You see kitchen stuff, you see flowers. Those are some of my recent searches. You also see recipes. You also see fonts. I was looking at fonts before. So it's a whole, the homepage is, I think, pretty self-explanatory. It's just, it's built off of your different pins and searches and things like that. So I usually just come here, and if there's something in particular I want to search for, obviously I just type it here in the search bar. But I did mention earlier in the video that sometimes when I have a collection and I know I have a very specific collection, I like to see what layouts have been done using the collection. Sometimes what gets added on here are the layouts that are done by the design team. So for example, I'm going to add here Cocoa Vanilla Storyteller. Oops, spelled it wrong. Storyteller layouts. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that. And while not everything on here might be an actual layout that's done with the Storyteller collection, sometimes you'll see other layouts using Cocoa Vanilla. Sometimes it won't have anything to do with that, so you just kind of have to scroll through. And so I already have been saving these. This is I have a board for Cocoa Vanilla layouts, but if I didn't, I could just click on here, click on save, and it's going to put it here in the Cocoa Vanilla folder that I have. If I didn't have a board, I could just go here, create a board, pick a name for it, and then it should pop up here a red button that says save. That's very similar to that. So you can scroll through here, pin any layouts that you might want to look at later on as you're using the collection. The design team, obviously, if you're not doing anything for a design team and you're just doing it for yourself, this is like a great option. I have been doing this for a while, but I noticed folks, when I go to crops, I noticed this was a long time ago. I noticed this particular person I was sitting next to, like she literally scrap lifted almost, I think, every single one of her layouts, which there's nothing wrong with that. But this is what she would do. She would go and she would copy it like exactly, because that's how she wanted it to look. And I was like, I never thought of doing that, because I would always come in here and pin sketches, and I would never, I guess I just never thought to come in here and look for the layout. So it's just a great tip. If you're interested in something a little different, if you wanted any other manufacturer, I have been seeing a lot of, actually, I've been seeing a lot of scrapbooking layouts by Close to My Heart. So you see, there's quite a number of them. Pretty cool. So even if you're not a collection person, but you might be into, buying from other companies. I know they come with like, there's Kiwi Lane. If you're into Kiwi Lane, there's a whole bunch of layouts for that as well. That's pretty cool. What's another one? I'm trying to think. Some of the kit clubs. Let's see. Hip Kit Club layouts, and you could probably put the year. But these are just some historic. They do have some years up here. So these are all the folks from their design team, which is pretty cool. You could kind of see. You may not always have the month or what have you, but if you recognize, this is another great way to just get inspiration for your own layouts, even if you don't belong to the kit club. It's great. So now I'm going to shift over and I'm going to show you, and each time, I will say, each time you refresh the home page, it's not letting me refresh right now for some reason, probably because I can't do it up here. But it'll come up with new content, or usually does. Here we go. So I just refreshed it and you see it comes up with all new content, which is really cool. So you don't ever have to deviate if you just want new stuff. So I'm going to go over to my homepage and I'm going to show you how I have my sketches kind of organized there. And I will say, before I get there, I was one of the ones that always had to have printed sketches. And I always had to have things that were tangible. So I had a what do you call it? A shelf in my last house that just had sketches and scrapbook books for inspiration, untouched, mind you. And I have dwindled that down because one of the things that I noticed since kind of shifting over, and I made this shift gradually, I didn't do it all at once. But one of the things that I love about Pinterest, and I'm just going to scroll here to find my sketches. So just give me 1 second. I love, one of the main things why I love Pinterest is because these sketches I don't have to print. I can screenshot them on my tablet, on my phone, if I'm working on a project. But other than that, I can just pull it up on my Pinterest in whatever form whatever kind of media I'm using, whether I'm home, whether I'm away from home. It's just easier for me to do it this way. So you'll see that beginning here, I begin all the sketches, and again, by the number of photos. So if I click on this, all you're going to see on here are sketches, and some of these probably are incorrect. This one should be over at the 2. So this one should be at the 2. So you can easily change that as well. Okay, so all of these, hopefully, are all one page, one photo layout or sketches. So sometimes I do pin layouts, and I'm okay with that. I call it sketches, but I know what I mean. Like, I don't necessarily, I just liked the layout, and so that's why it's here. So everything is one photo. And it goes on and on and on because I have 672 pins to choose from here. If you need more ideas, you can easily click on this and it's going to bring you somewhere else, but it's going to bring you to, again, more similar content. It's pretty cool. All right, so I have one of these for, I think I go all the way up to 10 sketches, which is just what I need and what I use. But I also have this broken out into different sections. So the sketches are one thing that I keep in kind of organized here. But if I have a particular collection that I know that I've bought and I have and I want to use, if I find layouts, I will create a board for it. That's what you see some of these, the Simple Stories Summer, the Simple Stories Winter. There's a couple of Simple Stories. There are 2 different, I think, winter collections. But I will do the same for, not just for manufacturers, but I'll do it for different specialty layouts. Like, I had 2 softball girls. So, having softball or baseball, anything related to, just for some inspiration, because if you are a sports parent, you know that you take a lot of pictures of this stuff and you don't want to just chronicle it in the same way every time. So if I ever get ideas like that, this is where I come and I save them. I also will do the same for, oh, this is one of my favorites. You ready? I have one for Chamel, again, manufacturer, but this one is called Scrap with Scraps. So these are all layouts that I have pinned here. I have 280 of them that I think that if I only had scraps to work with, I can make these layouts. So I love this. I just pinned this one last night. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't even know what collection it is. Dear Lizzie, Stay Colorful. Isn't that beautiful? I just love the contrast. I just love all of the pops of color in a photo that, you may not even think like, oh my God, it's not really all that special, but oh my gosh, the rest of it is absolutely gorgeous, and it just makes the photo pop, I think, in my honest opinion. But this is one, gosh, I go back to this all the time. Whenever especially when I'm working with scraps, I go to this. And if I don't use the one, by the number of photos, I definitely use this. And so selecting the sketch sometimes and getting the inspiration and starting there, sometimes just, I'm like, oh, I have a picture that will go perfect with that type of layout and that sort of thing. Let me just see. Here's another one. It's a pet layout. I have 67 in here, but they're all like so adorable. Like, when these come up, I'm like, oh, I want to recreate that one. That one is so cute. Or I have that collection and look how you can use the strips. That's perfect. I have that. So I love that kind of stuff. It really gets me wanting to use the items in my in my stash. So here I have Echo Park, Ellie Studios. I even have stuff for cut files. Here's a whole bunch of crepe paper I've gotten. Obviously, I'm a crepe paper lover, Maggie Holmes lover. So over the years, I've gotten different of her collections. This is my most recent one. Here's my Cocoa Vanilla. And there's a lot of storyteller in here, but this is part of their collection as well. That one is pinned in 2 places for a reason, so that's not a mistake. But I love this. It's mostly storyteller right now because it's the only full Cocoa Vanilla collection that I have in my stash. But it's just it's so gorgeous. I just love everything about this collection. It just makes me happy when I look at it. So there's a lot of inspiration there. Like I said, lots of other stuff to just general American crafts. And I do have one for 8.5 scrapbooking. So sometimes I will do an 8.5 by 11 layout. There's not as many here. Obviously, your canvas is a little bit smaller, but I think this gives you an idea of just how I use my, look at that face. How can you not love that face? But it gives you an idea of how I use this. And because it's on my phone, it's on my tablet, it's on my desktop, I literally can access it wherever. And I just love that about it. I don't have to, I may print my page maps, as I was mentioning earlier. I may print those, but I don't necessarily have to hang on to them or feel guilty over having them, because how many times, I mean, unless you're one that reverts back and is going there, like you just always revert back to a printed version of the page maps or the sketches, I would say, think about this, don't just do it because I say so, but think it through in terms of how you approach the work. Don't, as I always say, don't do as I do, do what makes sense for you. But I hope this tutorial has been a little bit helpful, just so that you can kind of see if whether you've never worked with Pinterest before, or you're not comfortable yet with Pinterest. Oh my God, look at this one. I'm totally like going on a squirrel moment right now, just because I see, like, I'm so fascinated by such beautiful layouts. I'm telling you, lots of inspiration here. It's a wonderful tool to add to our arsenal. And so I will end here.